Howdy, buddy. So today I want to talk a bit about being stuck and trying to get unstuck. Um, so there's this concept in gaming called face rolling, which has some other connotations depending on which game you're pulling it from. But for the purposes of this, I'm referring to just using abilities off cooldown. So like if I'm playing Dark Souls here, I'm just swinging my club every single time that I have the opportunity to do so, right? And taken to a more general idea, if you are just repeatedly face rolling a boss, the idea is that you're just attacking and attacking and attacking and dying and dying and dying and not really making any progress. So rather than doing that, because I already died to the gargoyles once, and it's not going to be very entertaining if I continue to die to the same things over and over again, we're going to try something different. We are, instead of going to fight the gargoyles by ourselves, what we're going to do instead is we're going to summon Solaire to give us a hand. It's going to go a lot smoother. We'll put it that way. So in order to summon Solaire, in order to play this game, or in order to summon Solaire in this game, you have to not be hollow. And then while you are not hollow, and so you become a human again, now I can use the white soapstone signs that are outside of boss arenas. So I'll go ahead and get going, because let me take this off so I don't accidentally use another one of those. So we're going to go back up to the gargoyles, and we're going to kill them with the help of Solaire. And the reason that, because I definitely debated a bit of whether I wanted to try and kill them solo or go with Solaire between last night and today. And the thought that I realized was like, oh, this would be a perfect opportunity to talk about being stuck and trying to get unstuck. Because it's too easy, especially in games, to just tell yourself, okay, I totally could have gotten the advantage here. I misplayed this one thing just a little bit, and if I just do that a little bit differently, then I can get the kill there. I can do whatever it is that I'm trying to do there. And by the way, the reason that I'm killing these guys each time, I know that it's not necessary, that I could just go up and fight the pinkies, but they drop Titanite shards, and they're worth 800 souls each, so it's actually not... It's pretty much worth it every single time to try and get them. That's rude. I thought I would at least stagger him with that kind of an attack, but apparently not. Okay, okay. So there's an example, right? I'm not perfect when it comes to that. I'm not perfect with my discipline. Okay, I can just swing wildly for that, though. So when he holds his sword out in front of him, then he will parry any normal attack. But from what I have experimentally confirmed, he won't ever parry a strong attack. So as long as you go unga bunga, as Slack said, then you can get the kill. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, I'll just get a backstab and call it a day. Okay. So I had that idea of, oh, this would be a perfect idea to talk about, like, stuckness. Oh, that's... Okay, I can still make it work. Okay. Can I... Oh, come on. He staggered. Okay, there we go. Because if I had chosen to try and solo the gargoyles again, then what would have likely happened is I probably would have died again. And that would be a not great example to set, because that's... You don't... I mean, okay, let me rephrase that. Because there's definitely plenty of opportunities in video games where it actually is the right thing to try and try and try again, because you have the right idea, you have the right technique or the right approach, You're just not skilled enough to actually execute on it. Like, that's definitely a possibility. And developing and refining your skills through repeated attempts, that's a good thing, right? You want to do that. But you also want to make sure that you're not... Okay, okay. Note for self in the future, he attacks 3 times. Okay. So, and again, I don't necessarily have information from that attack because he pulled away the parry before... Okay, and he's going to drink Estus there, so I can just kill him. He pulled away the parry before my strong attack landed, so that's not actually information for me of whether that attack can be parried by that defense. But it's something that I'm observing for. It's something that I'm keeping in mind as I'm going. And that's kind of... Well, that's maybe a little bit later in the conversation here. So here's Solaire's summon sign. So we're going to bring him out. He's the guy who I said hello to a little while back, who was getting his eyes nice and crispy by staring at the sun. He's quite a lovely gentleman. And there's kind of 2 approaches that I can take here. Either I can get up close and personal with the gargoyles and let him hit them from ranged, or he can come in and I can hit them from ranged. So we'll see what... You kind of just switch between, because you're... Depending on which of you pulls aggro, that's kind of the approach there. So right now I have aggro, so I'm just going to continue to maintain that aggro and let Solaire come up behind and start hitting him. Okay, and now Solaire is the target, so now I'm going to hit from behind. And that's kind of how you juggle aggro between the 2 of you. If he wants to use a ranged attack at any point, that would be appreciated, sir. Instead of just tanking stuff. Oh, I should also probably grab my bloodstain while he's distracted, and we only have 1 gargoyle on the roof. It's not a huge one. I think it was only like 1,000 or 2,000 souls. There we go. And I got the tail. He's not very happy about that. And he's staggered. Oh gosh. And the other one is on the scene, and I'm getting wrecked. Okay, Solaire, can you hunt to them for just a second while I drink a little bit? I could have rolled. I was trying to roll. Staggered. Try not to get hit by the flames. Hit him on the foot. And almost die. And I don't have any more Estus. Ah! And even with Solaire, I still get killed because I am being sloppy. So I am stuck right now, right? I am stuck in the sense that I have now tried to fight this boss twice, and I have lost both times, and I need to break another humanity in order to be able to summon Solaire again. So let's do that real quick. So then the question becomes, okay, well actually before we start asking questions, is stuck a bad place to be, right? That's a really important question to ask. Because a lot of people are uncomfortable in being stuck. And Robert Persig in Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance touches on this a good bit. And his notion, and I strongly agree with it, is that stuck isn't a bad thing. Stuck is the place where you... Stuck is the place where you actually learn, where you actually grow. So it's not something that you should be avoiding, because if you, and it's kind of a Peterson thing too, if you aren't stuck, if you're just like winning constantly or not really having any challenges as you're going along, then you're not really growing. You're just stunting on noobs, right? You're pub stomping. And sure, that can be fun sometimes, I suppose, for people. But are you really growing as a player? Are you really growing as a person when you do that? I don't really think so. It's more important to... I gotta focus up for this. just because let's see if I can parry. Much better. Bump. Okay. And Unga Bunga. Can I double Unga Bunga? I can. Haha. Oh. No. No items. Okay. So, stuck isn't bad. Right? Stuck means that you are at the limit of your current understanding of things, and you're trying to move beyond that. And that's not bad. That's not something that you should be ashamed of. That's not something that you should be frustrated with yourself over. That means that you're where you're supposed to be. And so once you realize, oh, hey, I am stuck, then that's when you get to start saying, okay, well, how then do I get unstuck? And that's more where I'm kind of interested in taking the conversation. Hang on. Just make sure I don't die stupidly to pinkies on my way back to gargoyles, because I have died here far more many times than I would like to admit. So the first step when you're trying to get yourself unstuck is to, and that this is me talking, I don't know exactly where I'm pulling from, if it's things that I remember or things that I have read but don't remember, or if this is genuine Afriel original thoughts. I know the first part isn't, at least, that you have to explore the possibility space, right? You have to identify, oh hey, rather than trying to solo the gargoyles each time, I can have a friend come and join me. I can ask Solaire to help me. And so now I have Solaire to help me. But even with his help, right, I wasn't able to beat the gargoyles. So what then, right? What did I do wrong? What was I doing in that fight that caused me to die? Well, part of it was that I came in with 1 or 2 charges of Estus left because I'd used a bunch of them fighting enemies on the way up here. This time I have 5. So if I do get into trouble, I have more opportunities to regenerate in between hits. And I have Solaire here to be able to tank and draw the aggro of the gargoyles while I'm trying to heal. So that's one thing I'm changing. What's another thing I'm changing? This time I'm not going to just run up and swing wildly, repeatedly, without any regard for the gargoyles' attack pattern. I'm going to try and watch more carefully and see when they're going to swing their axe, when they're going to fly or breathe fire, right? There's going to, how do I take the failure of the previous time and turn that into something that's more likely to be a success? So let's give that a try. Okay. Oh, and I should also get my bloodstain first before we get to going too crazy here. I forget if friendly fire is a thing, but we're just gonna go nuts here. Staggered, which means another free fireball, which doesn't hit because of the roof. I definitely needed a shield there instead of going nuts. And Solaire's actually using his ranged attacks this time. Crazy. And we're almost there, and I don't quite get the fireball. The other one's going to charge in, but it's going to breathe fire some more. Okay, and I'm out of... Okay. And that's another thing to pay attention to, right? Is how many charges do I have left? Okay, this guy has 1 more hit, right? And he's breathing fire, so I can kill him. And now we just have the 1 left. So I'm going to back up. I'm going to drink Estus like I should have a minute ago. And Solaire's probably just going to kill him for me outright. But I can wait. So 3 swings, I think, is their limit. And then we kill him. So I'm paying attention, or I'm paying more attention this time, to what are the attack patterns. Bye, Solaire. It's lovely to see you. I should have learned the Praise the Sun emote so I could do it back to him. But there were things, rather than just saying, oh, like, the way I was thinking about things was correct. I just wasn't executing them properly. I'm actually taking the time in between those engagements, in between those fights, and I'm considering, okay, what could be the flaws in my thinking? What could be the flaws in how I'm approaching this? And how can I intentionally try and correct them? Rather than just face rolling, rather than just binding all of the keys on the keyboard to one ability and then rolling my face across them, rather than using my hands to play the game. And it's a really hard skill to learn. It's really, really hard to be able to evaluate yourself clearly and critically, and to be able to improve based off of your own assessments. In part because you don't know what you don't know, and so you're kind of limited in that regard. Where if there are things that you need to correct that you just aren't even aware are things that require correction, then how are you going to know to change? How are you going to know to improve? And I honestly don't know, other than just watching other people, paying attention to other people. In theory, you could do it all on your own. In theory, you could do it... And I'm going to walk back just to have time to talk while we're on the way back to our bonfire. In theory, you could learn everything that you needed to all by yourself. But it also takes a lot longer, and it's also a lot more challenging to do it that way. Especially when other people around you are not constraining themselves in that same way. But then you also get into this sort of danger where if the only way that you ever learn things is from other people, then you never really learn to explore the possibility space for yourself. You never really learn, how do I take this seemingly intractable problem? I mean, gargoyles isn't particularly intractable, but I hope that comes across okay. Excuse me. And take this intractable problem and make something solvable out of it, right? How do I actually figure out how to solve this problem? Because it's not something like chess, right? You can pretty easily see what you need to do in order to explore the possibility space. You look at every single one of your pieces, and then you say, okay, what moves can this piece make? And then you say, okay, each of these moves is a legal move that my piece can make. And you can list out pretty easily in any given position what the legal moves that are available to you in that chess game are. But what's a lot less obvious is how then do you evaluate what moves you should be looking at to go further down the tree. Because you're going to... I'm going to put on the greatsword real quick because this is going to be cool. Let's see. Where's it at? It's up at the top. Insufficient strength, but that's okay. That wasn't what I meant to do, but that's okay. Here we go. Very big, very dangerous sword. So this should be fun. Okay, let me finish what I was saying. So, most games and most of life is not something like chess where you can quickly and easily evaluate all of the possible positions. You have to figure out what things are even possible in the first place. And then once you've figured out what it is that is possible, you have to figure out what are the criteria that I'm going to use in order to evaluate the outcomes of various explorations. Which not to get too meta, but that ends up becoming its own possibility space as well, is the possibility space of evaluations. But once you get something set well enough that you can kind of use it, then you just keep trying different paths. And you use the results of previous excursions to inform the next ones that you're going on. Whether that's picking up on the patterns of how common checkmates are achieved in chess, or watching other streamers play Dark Souls and seeing the techniques that they're using and the ways that they're describing their thought processes around trying to defeat a particular boss. You learn from those. You learn from those experiences. You learn from your own trials and errors, right? You then take those pieces of advice, you try to execute on them, and then you reflect on their effectiveness. And then eventually you kill the gargoyles, even if it takes you summoning Solaire 2 times to get through it. So with that, goodbye then. Be safe, friends. Don't you dare go hollow.